Welcome to Betting with Brooke and Benny here on the FTN Network, sponsored by FTN Bets. Very interesting week of football we have here. Before we start, though, I just have to ask my co-host Brooke Cromer, are you recovered from last week? I know it was a rough one for the Rams there. They killed all my teasers. I know they killed a lot of our producer Tino's teasers. And I know that your dad broke a television or two from what I hear watching the game on this weekend. So are you all right? Are you good to go? Deep breaths. Are we moved on already? What's up with you today?
Look, I drank a lot of wine. I got through it somehow, a couple beach walks, and I'm healed. But I'm ready for this week. I'm praying that we pull it out this week to make my heart heal a little bit more. But tough loss. I am sorry for everyone that bet on the Rams. I don't think it'll happen again. So please bear with me and please still trust my bets. But the Rams are coming back. I promise, guys. But
Yeah, and in the business, we call this foreshadowing because there is another Rams game this weekend, and it is one that we were going to talk about here. But Brooke, I wanted to ask you a question before we even get into any of these games because I got to be honest, I'm nervous this week. And the reason why I'm nervous is we're about to talk about 6 games here that you and I want to mention and throw our thoughts in about. The lowest spread on any of them is -2, and the highest spread on any of them is +3.5. So we have a whole bunch of games here that Vegas thinks are going to come down to a field goal. And I hate that when that happens because it's going to be like 2 minutes left in all these games. And we're either going to be like, God, we really need them to score here to win, or God, we really need them to hold and get a turnover here in order to lose. And those are always some strange weeks, especially with that number 3 being a key number in sports betting. And like I said, all 6 of these games we're going to talk about are within 1 point of that number 3. So are you feeling strong about this week, a little nervous about this week, or what are you thinking here?
it's going to be stressful. I think there's going to be a lot of last minute bets with news coming out every minute, it seems, this week. It's just been insane to cover. But I'm nervous, but also excited because, hey, when the lines are that close, that means we're going to get some good games. We're going to have some entertaining football. Nobody's going to be bored this weekend. I can promise you that. And if you have some bets on the game, you're going to just be sweating a little extra. So isn't that fun? Isn't that what we really live for around here at FTN?
I mean, listen, that's exactly what I do every weekend, and I know it's exactly what a lot of our listeners out there who are watching the show to get some of that information do every weekend. So let's give them a little bit of that information and start getting into it. The first game we're going to talk about here is the New Orleans Saints against the Tennessee Titans. So the spread on this game, it opened at Titans -2.5 here. It's up to -3 on most sites. It's -3 on DraftKings. It's -3 on BetMGM, but it's juiced down a little bit at -105. But I do think the 3 is the number that we're going to see, barring any other, random information coming out by the end of the week here. I think 3 is probably where this one's going to stay. So what are you looking at for this game, and which side of it are you going to end up on?
I think it's going to be interesting, which is basically the storyline of the weekend. I think the Saints are without their starting quarterback. Titans might as well be without Derrick Henry. So that really stinks. But as we saw Sunday versus the Rams, which really hurt me, Adrian Peterson has what it takes to get the run game going, saved them big time. But don't forget, however, Adrian Peterson is not Derrick Henry. And I mean, he was out for however long now and hasn't been taking reps. Now he's going to try and get into this offense, carry the workload for the run game. That is just not easy on your body. And when you're getting older, you're not continuously putting your body through this vigorous workload anymore. It's harder on your body to get back into it. And really my concern here is just going forward for this Titans team with Adrian Peterson. Will he be able to hold up physically? Well, I can tell you one thing, he will be giving it all out on the line this weekend versus his former team and head coach, Sean Payton. He had a lot of controversy there, as you could say. But on the other hand, the Saints are coming off a divisional loss to the Falcons, surprising everyone. They're coming out of week 9 pissed off, ready to fight. I think a lot of adversity on both sides of this game. I think it's going to be a very close one, but I think the Titans will push through with a late touchdown. That's what I'm betting on.
Yeah, I do think this is going to be a close game. I got to be honest, this is one that I don't really want to bet on because
Yeah.
I think these are 2 pretty good teams right now. I mean, I think both of them are solid. The Titans defense, not that great. The offense is still good, even without Derrick Henry. Like, obviously, they're not as good, but then again, you look at the New Orleans side. I mean, they're not as good without Jameis Winston, which I might be the first person who said that since he was in college. But that is definitely the case with them last week. We kind of saw it is, you even look at the weapons that they have, like their wide receiver options are just not very good right now. So they rely a lot on the run game. They just brought Mark Ingram back in there as well to be the complement to Alvin Kamara. So I think that's going to be pretty good for him. Like I said, I have no opinion on this game. I'd probably go the Saints now that we're getting the full +3 here on this game. But really, I just don't want to bet on this one. But there is one that I do want to bet on, and we'll talk about that right now. And that is the Browns versus the Patriots. This opened with the Patriots as a 2.5-point favorite. It's come down a little bit. DraftKings right now is -2. I think BetMGM is -1.5 at the moment here. So what are you looking at here between the Cleveland Browns and the New England Patriots?
I think it's going to be close. Both teams entering the week sitting at 5-4 on the season. On paper, the teams look pretty evenly talented. All signs point to a close game in New England this weekend. And in week 9, as we know, all eyes were on Baker Mayfield to see how he would play without OBJ on his squad. And it just proved my thoughts to be correct. Baker and the Browns are so much better off without OBJ in that locker room. Just causes so much turmoil, and it's crazy. The Browns, they played a complete game all of a sudden. Their defense held off a talented Bengals offense, which who thought we'd be saying that this year? They made some game-changing plays, and Baker completed some big throws when necessary. So we all know that this team is solid when they are underdogs. And here we go, Patriots favorites. So I think Mayfield will keep his composure. This defense will make life hard for rookie Mac Jones. I think as long as the Browns get their run game going, which is still up in the air, Nick Chubb and Demetric Felton hitting the COVID list again this week. They'll need 2 negative COVID tests at least 24 hours apart to be eligible to play. And then their other running back, John Kelly, went on the COVID list on Monday. So their final running back that's eligible right now is Dearness Johnson, who had a solid game when he filled in versus the Broncos in week 7. So we'll see how this unfolds as the week goes. I think this is one that we're going to have to watch, and it's probably going to be a last-minute bet for me. I think if Chubb is healthy and the Browns, they'll have this win in the bag by 7. If not, I'm actually leaning towards the Patriots in this game, at least by a field goal. So I think it's a last-minute bet. It's just to see what happens with this running game.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I actually think the value in this game is on the Cleveland side. You can get Cleveland at plus money. Now, again, not big plus money. I think they're like plus 105, plus 110. But again, I look at this game as a coin flip, or maybe even like Cleveland should be favored here. One of the things you mentioned that I wanted to hit on as well is the Cleveland defense, who looked amazing last week. So, if their defense is going to play like that, it just makes it easier for the offense because you're not asking Baker to do too much. It's not like you got to be like, hey, go out there and get us 40 points, right? Like if the defense plays like that, especially against a weak offensive team like New England, it could be more like, hey, go out there and get us 20 points. And if you only got to go out there and get them 20 points, I think the Browns can win that game as well. So I think the value is on the Brown side of that game. Although I agree with you, you got to see what happens with that, because if there's going to be no Chubb and they're going to be down to just Dearness Johnson, who did a good job a couple weeks ago. So like, it's not the worst thing in the world, but I would feel a lot better about it if they have Chubb in there as well. So let's talk about another interesting game here. We got the Vikings against the Chargers. This one opened at 2.5, pretty much has stayed right where it opened at -2.5 on the Chargers side of this game. My number on this game was actually -2 as well, so I'm right on market. So I don't really see the value here, but what are you looking at from a football perspective, and where do you think this one lands?
Well, both teams coming off of close games. The Vikings fell in overtime to the Ravens. The Chargers pulled off a close win versus the Eagles. My early pick this week was the Chargers to cover and win this game, and I'm standing by that pick this week. For me, it just comes down to I trust Justin Herbert over Kirk Cousins to lead a team to victory. After 2 tough games for Herbert, he bounced back big time, completed 84% of his passes with 3 touchdowns, 0 turnovers. He is now the only player to reach 600 completions through the first 25 starts of his career. I think he just continues to impress versus the Vikings this weekend, and Chargers cover this spread. I'm high on Justin Herbert. I think he is so great. I think we're going to see a lot of talent come out of this kid through the rest of this season and then on into his career.
Yeah, he helped me out a lot last year because I had a lot of best ball shares of him. And then, some of the early season teams that were like struggling a little bit. And then the quarterback came in there to help me out there. So that worked out pretty well. The other thing I will say about this game is Chargers -2.5. Anytime we can get a team under 3 that I think should win a game anyway, that's going to be the side that I'm on as well. So I'm riding with Brooke here on the Chargers. If they win by a field goal, the fact that it's 2.5 means that we capture that 3 and we get the win. So I like the Chargers side of that game as well. So here's the interesting game of the week that everyone's going to be talking about on social media. The Seahawks taking on the Packers. And the reason why I say it's an interesting game, like I don't even really want to talk about the line movement here. Like it opened at -5, it's down to -3.5. But we had two major things that happened, right? One of them is Aaron Rodgers missing last week, very likely to be out of the protocol, I think on Friday or Saturday, which would put him in line to be able to play Sunday. And then Russell Wilson on the other side looks like he's going to be in there to be able to play. So, last week people were like, oh man, Jordan loved Geno Smith. Who wants to watch this game? But now it's Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers again. So, what are you looking at? Assuming let's talk about it that way. Let's assume that all the teams have their starting quarterback in there and that this is going to be one of those games. What do you think will happen with that?
I think if both quarterbacks are playing in this game, I just see I don't see the Seattle defense holding off Rodgers. And so if Rodgers is in, I think Green Bay wins this. If he doesn't play, I'm not putting my trust in Jordan Love again. So I'd be on Seattle, but I think this is another game that you kind of wait and see what happens with the news. There's a lot of that this weekend, I think, that you just kind of have to wait and see because there's so much happening every single minute. And especially all they can talk about on every single talk show this week is Aaron Rodgers, and does he have the trust of this team behind him still? And does he even have a chance of making MVP push? And how much he'll be, putting into this game. But look, I think it's going to be a wild one. If he doesn't play, it's going to be tough. He was shooting to return this week. Matt LaFleur is hoping that he returns this week, but we'll see. Seattle's coming off a bye week. That gives them a little bit of an upside. But as I said, Seattle defense holding off Rodgers, I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, I mean, if both quarterbacks are playing in this game here, I would think that Green Bay should be favored by more than 3.5. So I would think that there's value on that. I don't really love the 3.5. I hate giving up the field goal by taking the hook on the other side. So I think it's probably better as like a parlay piece where you take Green Bay money line and you put it with something else just to kind of juice it up there on the payment. And also we got to see what happens. You never know. Odell Beckham Jr. has been linked to both of these teams this week. So you never know. Maybe Odell signs with Seattle. Maybe he signs with Green Bay. Maybe he doesn't sign with anybody. Somebody said he was up there playing with the Toronto Argonauts the other day. I don't even know what to believe. Yeah, I don't know what to believe with the Odell Beckham saga going on right now. So we'll see how all that turns out. But I agree. I think if Rodgers plays, the value is on the Green Bay side. So I'm siding with Brooke on that one as well. Sunday night football game, a AFC West matchup, old school AFC West matchup, Kansas City Chiefs and the Las Vegas Raiders going up against each other here. The line on this game is 2.5. It's pretty much where it's held. It dropped a little bit because it opened at 2.5 minus 120, I think, on DraftKings. And now it's down to even money, or not even money, I'm sorry, standard juice at minus 2.5 on DraftKings and juiced up a little bit at minus 115 on BetMGM. But, really it's kind of just stayed right where it is there. I don't really know what to do with this Chiefs team. I mean, they won last week against a good Green Bay Packers team, but they beat the Green Bay Packers without Aaron Rodgers. It wasn't a very good game. I think it was 13-7 final score there. At the end of the day, when you look at that game, if Aaron Rodgers plays, Green Bay probably wins that game by 2 touchdowns. So, can you trust Kansas City? Are you trusting Kansas City? Because I don't know if I trust Kansas City.
I don't know if I trust Kansas City. I don't know if I trust these Raiders. I think both of these teams are kind of just crazy this year. Like, what is going on with the Raiders, first of all? That is just such a mess. Head coach problems, player problems. Their first-round picks were kind of busts, but off the field busts, not on the field busts, which kind of hurts even more. So it's been a crazy year for both of these teams. The Chiefs, I mean, what's going on with Patrick Mahomes? Still to this day, we don't know that defense. I mean, we just don't know. The Raiders, they're going to have to shake off their loss to the Giants pretty quick. This is their third primetime game of the season, and it's coming against their AFC West rivals. And then through everything this season, the Chiefs are back in the AFC playoff race. They could even win the division still. This is a huge game. I don't think the Raiders defense has what it takes to stop Patrick Mahomes. It's shown in their past meetings, Mahomes has accounted for 2,000 yards with 17 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions in his 6 starts versus the Raiders. So, I mean, that's history here. But this game is huge, and it's both teams are pushing for a chance at the playoffs. I just think the Chiefs are a better team here, even with everything that's gone on this season. So I think the Chiefs pull it off with the win by 7.
Just to put some of those numbers in perspective. That would mean that Mahomes is on pace to throw for like 6,000 yards and 50 touchdowns if he just played the Raiders every week. So that's how good those numbers are right there. That's pretty impressive right there for them.
It is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm of the same mindset though. Like, I have no idea what to expect from the Chiefs. Like, people are like, "Oh, the Chiefs defense looked good last week." It's like, did they though, or was it just like going up against Jordan Love on a short week where they had all the turmoil and everything around them? And the thing that I was more concerned with is, yes, Green Bay's defense is good, but the Chiefs scoring 13 points in a football game, like, that's not the Kansas City Chiefs that everybody's thinking about. And remember, this has been one of the worst teams against the spread all season long at 2-7. You're actually getting them at below a field goal here, which is interesting. If you like the Chiefs, I think that you lay the 2.5. If you like the Raiders, though, just take the money line on it. I think that's the better way to bet this than taking a plus 2.5. Like I said, I don't trust either one of these teams. I don't really know what I'm going to get from either one of these teams. So I'm kind of avoiding this game. But if I had to make a bet on it, give me the Raiders money line. I'd rather have the better payout here than trying to rely on the Kansas City Chiefs who keep screwing me this year.
Right.
So that brings us to Monday Night Football, a game that I know Brooke is looking forward to talking about here. Can the Rams get back on track against a pretty solid San Francisco 49ers team right here? Let's see. This opened at Rams minus 4.5. It's actually down to 4 on BetMGM, down to 3.5 on DraftKings here. Again, not huge moves. They're both numbers on the other side of the field goal, but are we willing to lay? Well, I know you're going to be willing to lay, but should everybody else also be willing to lay more than a field goal on the Los Angeles Rams here on Monday Night Football?
I say yes, but I think you knew that was coming. I think that these Rams are coming out hungry. That game hurt, and it hurt deep. Oh my gosh, like I can't even explain to you, but you know what happens when these Rams get a little fire? They get going. And I think that, I mean, now it's a primetime game in LA for LA. So they have an extra day of rest. I think that's definitely necessary. There's a couple players that are banged up. I mean, you saw Matthew Stafford out there giving me a heart attack when he rolled his ankle. And look, everyone has an off game. I think every single team has to go through it. And at least it happened against a very good team. So there's these type of off games, you learn a lot. It's not like you just have a bad game and sweep it under the rug. You learn so much from those games, especially when Adrian Peterson comes out of nowhere and just starts running it down our throats. So I think it lit a fire under the Rams. But the 49ers, they're going to be hungry after their tough loss to the Cardinals. So it's going to be a tough game. I think this game will start close as the Rams try and get their rhythm back. 49ers don't have much of a rhythm at all, so they're going to try and get that going. But I think if the 49ers play as terrible as they did versus the Cardinals without Kyler Murray, DeAndre Hopkins, AJ Green, and JJ Watt, they could be in for a long game versus the Rams as we add in Von Miller to an already stacked defense. And I think people are also sleeping on my Aaron Donald, which is not making me very happy. If you think that the defensive player of the year is going to be Myles Garrett, I think you have something coming for you for the rest of this season, because with Von Miller on the other side and Aaron Donald on one side, I think we're going to see a lot more of what the Rams did last year and the year before with our defense when we had Michael Brockers and all of these big guys helping out Aaron Donald. So I think that it's going to change the momentum of this Rams team a lot. I think people have a lot coming for him, and I have the Rams in this game by 7.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, offensive coordinators are going to have to figure something out here because, if you double Donald now, you're going to be leaving guys like Von Miller one-on-one or giving them open lanes to a quarterback, which is not something that you want. So you're going to have to start doing things like chipping with a tight end or chipping with a running back, making sure you got some extra guys in there, which actually hurts you on the offensive side because that's one less guy going out to catch passes, one less guy a defense has to worry about covering, and makes it a little bit easier for a defense to handle things. So I definitely think the Rams defense is going to be a problem for a lot of teams moving forward. Going to give a lot of offensive coordinators sleepless nights. Going to give a lot of offensive line coaches sleepless nights as well.
Ooh.
But when I look at it here, I mean, the big thing for me is the 3.5, the hook and the +4 here. I think this is going to be a close game because it's a divisional game here. I'm going to take San Francisco +4. I don't think they win the game, but I just think that it's too many points where I don't want to be on the wrong side of the field goal in a divisional game with the Rams on the road here. I do think it comes down to a late touchdown or a late field goal that winds up, deciding this game. And hopefully I'm on the right side of it. And if not, at least I know Brooke will be happy. So we'll be all right with that. So there you go. That wraps it up for the 6 games we wanted to talk about here. Brooke, let everybody know where they can find you on social media.
Find me on Twitter. Find me on Instagram at Brooke Cromer. Give me a follow. Talk some football with me. That's all I like to do these days. So give me a follow. But thanks for joining us today. We always have fun.
Yep. And you guys can find me at BennyR11. And remember, Brooke and/or I go and check the YouTube video every day to see if there's any comments. So if you guys have any questions, you have any comments, if you want to tell us what bets you like that we made, what bets you don't like, tell us what bets you like this week as well. We're always stopping in there to converse with the fans, because you guys are the reason we do this show. You guys are the reason that we get up every Saturday and I actually take a shower, and Brooke looks like that when she rolls out of bed. So it doesn't really make a difference for her, but either way. So for Brooke Cromer, I'm Benny Ricciardi signing off on Betting with Brooke and Benny here at FTN Bets.